Greater Toronto Music School, and today we're going to be doing a quick lesson on breath support, vocal health, and proper posture. This is a very important skill for all singers or musicians of any age. It's super important to make sure that you're having great posture and proper breath support and you're taking care of your body the way that you should. We're not going to become better and stronger singers if we're not taking care of our voices and our body properly. So before I begin our mini lesson, I would just like to address vocal health. Now that the pandemic is slowly coming to an end and everything is beginning to reopen, kids are back in school, we're going to restaurants, maybe some sporting events or live music events, it is super important that we're aware that we're using our voices a lot more frequently. During the pandemic, a lot of us were at home, we weren't talking as much, we might not have been in a context where we'd have to be yelling, and now we're using our voices all day long, especially young students who are in school. It is important to take a break. If your voice is feeling a little tired, maybe a little sore at the end of the day, give it a nice rest. Spend the night watching Netflix, maybe don't go out to that restaurant that night, or be cautious when you're out at a live music event or a loud venue that you're not yelling or using your voice too much. You'll definitely pay for it the next day. The voice is a muscle, and just like any other muscle in our body, we need to take care of it. I would like to just quickly address breath support while singing. It's a super important skill for any singer, and it's very different than the breath that we use in a conversation on a day-to-day basis when we're not really thinking about it. In order to sing properly, we need to make sure that we have enough air and we're pushing our air out in a consistent stream. It's also important to know that there are parts of your range where you're going to need more breath. Most likely, your very low range and your very high range. Your mid-range, where your speaking voice sits, is probably going to feel a lot easier and you might not have to think about breath support as much. So before we get on to some breath exercises, we're just going to quickly go over the process of inhaling and exhaling. So as we inhale, our diaphragm, which is a muscle just on your abdomen here under your rib cage, is going to help expand everything so that you can intake air into your lungs. As you intake air into your lungs, obviously they get bigger. There's more air in there than normal. So your diaphragm helps push everything up and out. So your rib cage will expand, your chest will feel more open, your shoulders might slightly move back, but you don't want to move them up. And then as we exhale, everything kind of goes back into its normal place. It's almost like your diaphragm is flexing and then unflexing to let everything go back and sit normally. Your diaphragm is what does all the work. You don't need to do any work from here. You don't need to do any work pushing from here. Everything happens on your diaphragm. If you're also having some issues getting all of your air to exhale, you can push in your diaphragm, which will just help you exhale that extra amount of air that's in your lungs already. It can be very helpful sometimes when you're doing warm-ups or when you're singing certain musical phrases where you just don't feel like you have quite enough air. Just give your diaphragm a slight push and then you'll be able to exhale the remainder of the air in your lungs out. So it's very important as we breathe to have proper posture. So make sure that you're sitting or standing up straight. You want to have your shoulders slightly back and not tense up in your ears. You also want to make sure that your chin is forward and maybe just a little slightly down. If you have your shoulders up as you inhale, you're not going to be able to expand and open that chest to get enough air. And if you're sitting with poor posture, your diaphragm is not able to work as hard, so you're not going to intake as much air and you're not going to be able to exhale as much air because you didn't intake enough. Another important thing that some singers tend to do is when they sing high, maybe they raise their chin, or if they're going to sing a high note, they like to raise their chin up to help them get that. It's actually going to hurt you more than help you because you are cutting off the air from your windpipe. It's the same thing when you're singing downwards. Maybe some singers tend to put their chin down. It feels like you get more space in the back of your mouth there, but it is cutting off your air. So you're intaking all this air and you're not able to exhale it properly. So an exercise that I like to do with all of my students, it's quite popular, is to inhale your breath and push it out as if you're breathing through a straw. So you're going to do a nice deep inhale and a hissing exhale. And a good way to keep your breath support up, but also make sure that your breath is going to last through a vocal phrase, is by timing yourself. So I like to do a nice inhale for 4 and exhale for 4. Let's try it together now. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now you want to make sure that when you're hissing out, you're getting a nice, consistent stream. You don't want your hiss to sound because then you're letting out too much air and it's not focused. You also don't want to try to hold in all of your air and have your hiss be very quiet, because that's also not a consistent stream of air and you can't sing like that. It's also super important that when we're breathing in while singing, we breathe in through our mouth. We're using our mouth, we're just about to sing with it, maybe you're taking sips of air in between phrases. You always want to make sure you're breathing through your mouth. Let's try this again, but this time we're going to try to exhale for 8 counts. So in for 4 and exhale for 8. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. How did you do? If you felt like this was easy, I would recommend taking 4 more counts each time. So instead of inhaling for 4 and out for 8, try inhaling for 4 and out for 12. And if that's easy, try inhaling for 4 and out for 16. Let me know in the comments below how long you could exhale for, and if you found this exercise easy or maybe a little bit difficult, maybe something you need to work on. Lip trills. So if you've never done a lip trill before, it sounds like this. It's almost like a hum and a raspberry combined, but you're not going to use your tongue. You need to make sure that your lips are very relaxed, you're not pursing them. If you are having issues, you can slightly push in your cheeks. Another complaint I get from a lot of my singers is that they don't like the feeling of vibrations in your face. We need to embrace those vibrations. They're going to feel all around your lips, maybe even your nose a little bit, but they are so important. If you're getting those vibrations, that means you're doing it right and you have the proper placement. So what I like to do is, if you're a beginner to lip trills, I like to just start on one pitch and move that pitch up. You'll notice that if you start in a place that's easy for you, maybe in your mid-range, I tend to start at middle C because for me, that's around my speaking voice. It'll get easy, but as you move throughout your range, it might get a little bit more difficult. If it's getting more difficult, that means that you need more air. Let's try it together. Now, if that was something that was maybe easy for you, I really like to do a 3-note lip trill with the interval of a third. This is important because, as I mentioned before, as you get higher, you're going to need more breath support. So this will help you in the beginning of keeping proper breath support through a phrase by making sure that you can not only get the bottom note and then the top note, but making sure you go back down to that first bottom note with enough air. Let's do a couple together. Again, I'm going to start at middle C. It's going to sound like this. Let's try it together. Stop it there, but of course you can feel free to do these on your own. Do them in whatever range you feel comfortable in, or maybe you want to work on some of the ranges that are more difficult. Just experiment with your voice and your own range, because it's such a in-body experience and it's always different for everybody. So if you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe. My name again is Alicia. I'm with Greater Toronto Music School, and we'll be putting out new videos every Wednesday. So stay tuned for my next mini lesson series.